Okay, let me use this time to discuss another one of my labs, my blood urea nitrogen. That is a lab value that was flagged as being slightly elevated. My number was 29, and the high number on that particular study is 25, so it was slightly out of range. Now, of course, a lot of people have analyzed that. Most people that spend any time looking at renal labs understand that that is a perfectly normal variation. Some people that have a sort of a political interest, particularly vegan activists that want to presume that means kidney failure or kidney disease because I eat a lot of meat and a lot of protein, are again taking things completely out of context to serve their own particular ideologic purpose. Now let's understand what blood urea nitrogen is. Blood urea nitrogen is a urea that is found in the blood and is produced by the liver as it processes protein. Okay, and things that can elevate that. Now there certainly are diseases and disease processes that can elevate that, and certainly that can be an indication of chronic kidney disease or even acute kidney disease. Things that typically cause that are things like burns, stress, heart attacks, pregnancy, certain drugs, and other things. We also know that eating a high protein diet can elevate our blood urea nitrogen without any problem. So the question is it just high protein and that's a normal finding, or is there some sinister issue with my kidneys going on? Now, fortunately, we have some other laboratory data that I provided that will help us sort that out. So one is called the GFR, or the glomerular filtration rate. Now, the glomerular filtration rate is basically an estimate. It's based on something called the MDRD formula. That's one we commonly use. There's some other ways to do that. But anything above 60 is considered normal based on that particular formula. The reason they don't distinguish higher numbers is because it's not very good at looking at numbers above 60. And one of the reasons for that is it assumes that your body surface area is 1.73 square meters, and often it will be reported as whatever number in milliliters per minute per 1.73 meters squared, right? So that assumes that the average person is being administered this test. A body surface area of 1.73 meters correlates to a person about 5'7" and 140 pounds. Now, obviously that's not me. So I'm 6'5", about 250 pounds. So it takes into account your age, your sex, your serum creatinine, which again is elevated. Mine was at the high end of normal, and it's elevated based on muscle mass, and so mine was elevated based on muscle mass. And it also takes in your race, interestingly enough. And if anytime you look at one of these things, it'll say if you're an African American, your number will be higher. It'll indicate higher glomerular filtration rate. And again, higher is what we want to see. And the reason for that is African Americans tend to carry more muscle than the average person. Now again, I also carry much more muscle than the average person. I'm much leaner. And so the number that I get, you would have to multiply my body surface area, which if you calculate mine, comes out to be about 2.5 meters squared, as opposed to 1.73 for the generic type 5'7", 40 pound person, which they put into the equation. It also doesn't take into account my higher than normal muscle mass. And so my number, if you calculate that out, puts me well within the normal range. Now, there is a formula called the Cockcroft Gault formula, which directly calculates creatinine clearance. And again, all these formulas are just estimates. There are direct ways you can do it, which are very a little more challenging to do. There's something called inulin clearance, which is probably a gold standard for this. But based on the Cockcroft Gault formula, which actually uses my body weight, if we plug that in and we use my serum creatinine and we use my age and my sex, that calculates out to a creatinine clearance of about 116. So and that's an estimate of kidney function, and the normal range for that for males is about between 97 and 137. And so at 116, I am squarely within the center of those numbers. So unfortunately, for those people that are cheering for my demise and hoping I have kidney disease and all these other diseases, the labs just don't support that. And again, that's why I say clinical context is important for any of your lab values, and I'll go through all my lab values with this. We'll talk about some of the other numbers. it's interesting. It's hopefully an educational experience for some people that are willing to learn, for some of the people that don't want to learn, that might be challenged to learn based on their religious beliefs or perhaps a lack of cholesterol in their diet. You're not going to understand this. But for anybody else, looking at that, and that's why we have clinicians that take the actual whole picture into account when we interpret lab values. Again, lab values are a snapshot. They are not the way you define someone's health. You use them to assist you in seeing what else is going on. So for those of you guys who think I have kidney disease based on a slightly elevated blood urea nitrogen, I'm afraid you're going to have to try again. All right, you guys. You can check, and if you want links to this, I've put this a little written story on this over at sean-baker.com with a couple links. You can calculate your own GFR using the Cockcroft Gault formula and some other studies that support this information out there. So please look at that stuff. Again, the comments, a lot of vegan comments coming in. Again, you guys just driving traffic this way, and that's fine. You can waste your time all day railing against me and complaining. It does no good. It doesn't make any difference to me. All it does is drive traffic here. And anyway, so you guys have a good day and enjoy a steak, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.